Hey everyone, it's your girl Karina. Welcome back to the channel. I'm really excited to be back and to talk to you guys about the latest Aquarius Full Moon, which happened at the very late degree of Aquarius. And I want to talk about this opposition from the sun and the moon in the sense of this being a time where you're releasing, okay? And the full moon is often a time of closure as well. I'll be working on a video today for the astrology course where I'm going to talk about the moon phases and how to actually follow the moon phases towards in conjunction with your birth chart, right? How to follow the moon phases in conjunction with your birth chart and what to do during these phases. All right. So now that we have entered into the cycle of the end of this full moon, and this moon is not waning, this energy is always connected to old things that are kind of recycling out of you, right? Taking out the trash energy. And it's also about closure, the things that are completed now, okay? With my own work, I've actually been shifting, and I typically am not good with this time of the moon phase because I typically am better with the new moon. In your chart, you can discover where you're probably really good at and the parts that you have to work on. And so for me, the new moon is a time where I'm more connected to the energy. And this time I usually have to lay low because whenever I try to do things, I lose my ego. So I wanted to bring that message to you in the sense of this is a perfect message for this, being that it's opposite to the sun in Leo's at the 29 degree, and that feeling of losing your ego. And during a full moon, you typically have some sort of closure that's like this, right? It can be something that whips around at you, or it could be something that you ease into. So if you develop a ritual with yourself during the end of the moon phase, during the waning period, where you are letting out the trash consistently every month, then this is going to help you. So you're letting out the trash energy is where your moon is, okay? So if your moon, whatever house and zodiac sign your moon is, that's the letting out the trash energy. Or you can also look at your 12th house. That's also the letting out the trash energy. Okay, and being more connected to the energies of those places in your birth chart. And during this time of the moon phase, try that. Now, some of you who are already good at that probably do this intuitively, but for those who need that extra boost, this is what I'm here to share with you. And for me, it makes sense because my moon is in the 9th house. It's after a new moon. But there's also things that I have to always do during the waning period, which is go back to that 9th house, re-study, relearn, reteach, keep teaching, teach old lessons, things like that. Maybe I'll do a video for the moon phase as well that talks about what to do on this channel, but the real in-depth lecture will be on the complete astrology course on Udemy. And that is going to be getting a lot of attention during this waning period for me, okay? All right, so going back to the full moon with the sun versus the moon in Aquarius, that 29 degree can be a harsh energy, often has a bad reputation of being so. And it really is about merging the moon and Mars. So this energy can feel kind of combative, may have felt that way, or it may have been the opposite and felt more passive. Right, so that maybe you're more of an observer at this time, depending on what role you take. But in Leo, we look at where it is that we have the courage to be entertaining. Okay, Leo's the courage to be entertaining. So I want to encourage you to look at where Leo is in your chart, specifically 29 degrees. And what that actually does is it allows the sun to shine, but the sun is shining in a way in which it is being almost comedic. It's being sensitive. It's being, it's being all the things that typically we don't associate with pride, right? But at the same time, it's one of the most beautiful energies of Leo because it's where you have courage. You know, like thinking of having courage to go into battle and how fearful it can be, how, you know, you may not be all that confident. And so these topics come up in Leo at this critical degree about what it really takes to have confidence, what it really takes to have courage. Because like in the middle of Leo and in the best degrees, you know, everything just shines beautifully and everybody just adores the shine. But when we look at the critical degrees, we have to look at what it really takes to make that shine happen. And that's what I feel like comes here at this time. That's the message that I bring because of that 29 degrees Leo opposing the moon. And typically the sun could overpower the moon, right? Because it's so bright. Even especially in the opposition, you may find that to be. But sometimes in these very small sectors of mighty stories, there comes a moment where the shadow, which the moon represents, or the reflected light, right, is more powerful than the bright light of the sun. So I think that the moon has strong energy here in being able to oppose the sun because of the sensitivities that the sun has to experience. And because he has to experience those things and isn't as familiar with being in this arena, the sun is dealing with the shade. He's seeing shade. Now, when the sun is shining really bright, you know, the shade is very minimal. But when the sun is actually setting or even rising, you see more of these energies of the shade being bigger. Right, because of the actual angle of which it like comes up on something like, let's say, a tree. So when you're looking at like 29 degrees, it's like these are the sunrise and sunset energies. And this full moon brings that ability for us to see where, you know, where a fight would not have been won before, where it can be. And that can give you, you know, the confidence that you need to know that you can trust yourself and that you could shine regardless. It also gives you the chance to see that there is a crippling fear that some people still take action on because they know that it's right. They're inspired by something. They know what they have to do. Their light is strong, but it's more internally. So when you think about somebody who's going to war and has the courage to do something, or somebody who is even an entertainer who stands behind the curtain before it's time for them to go on the stage, that they feel all of those crippling emotions too, but they rise to the moment of their will. And so that also comes into play at this time. So where you have Leo and Aquarius in your chart at 29 degrees, is showing you where you're dealing with the courage to stand up to the audience, okay? And what courage it takes is to either be an entertainer, so you're being somebody that people project at, people who they laugh at you, people, things like that. And what courage it takes to just be the entertainer, right? There's also the idea of just being connected to children, what courage it takes to be connected to children because of that feeling of being more youthful and not being seen as mature. So that also can play a part in it. These are definitely the experiences that I am going through, and so I'm sharing it with you. And this is why it's great to have different people who have different takes off of these, because there's so many aspects to the sun and its shadow that play out in people's lives. So also, what is your story? What is your sun? What is your shadow that's playing out in your life? Now, the house placement that you find the sun in is going to be the place where everyone can see you, okay? So you could write that on a paper, like the sun placement right now is where everyone can see me. And then the house placement where the moon is what they're saying and conjuring to believe or have faith or support you on. Are they choosing to support you or not? Are they choosing to invest in you? Are they choosing to value you and appreciate you? That's what the Aquarius moon is, and that energy has a little bit more pull than you typically would want. So the pride is now facing a lot of its own ability to surrender some aspects of itself. Okay? So I hope that you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace and love.